Thank you so much for accepting our invitation for the interview. And welcome to Maadim, the Metalheads. So the first thing I want to ask you guys is that the Ouroboros represents something consuming itself, and becoming something new. After 3 albums, do you feel Dawn of Ouroboros has actually gone through that cycle, destroying and rebuilding its own identity each time?
I feel like we find a new piece of ourselves with each album that we create. And in doing so, it feels like a form of rebirth.
Yeah, I mean, definitely when I'm doing the initial compositions, I always try to think about what I've done before and not really throw those ideas out completely, but try to keep a thread that is what the band sounds like without repeating ourselves of anything we've done on previous albums. So we're still the same group, but we're kind of doing something new or a rebirth on each album. That's the goal anyway.
So Incandescence and Bioluminescence, sorry if I butchered the names, are 3 stages of that cycle. What did each version of the band have to leave behind?
So I think for album 1, it was really about discovery. So it was like trying to come up with, what we wanted to do, our vision, and how we wanted to paint the soundscape of what we were creating. From there, it was really honing in for the next album, Velvet Incandescence. It was honing in on what we've already started and developing it further and continuing with exploration. Our most important thing to us is being able to improvise and create things without restraint. So we have the complete and total creative freedom to sing or write as we desire. We don't put people in boxes. And the third album felt like we were coming into ourselves more than we had on our preceding. I feel like that one is a really good representation of my growth, and I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, I mean, each album we've done is kind of a snapshot of what, what I'm actively listening to at the time, mixed with influences and things that I'm learning on the instrument and just as a musician, and just trying to grow that each time, do variations on, where I'm at mentally and in my life, and just try to represent that through the music.
Dawn of Ouroboros' music and sound constantly puts something beautiful right next to something absolutely crushing. Which side usually comes first when you're writing, the beauty or the brutality?
I think it alternates. We kind of envision it as darkness meeting light, and it really depends where we're at the time of writing a song. Sometimes it just feels so easy to write something like brutal and dark and, making us feel as if we're discovering new parts of ourselves deep within. And then additionally, when we are writing on the lighter side of it, it's like this flowy exploration that we embark on. So at least that is how it is for me.
So I'll usually start with the instrumentals, and I just kind of like to jam on my guitar and with a lot of the synthesizers that I use, and just I don't really think about I'm going to write a softer song or a really aggressive song. I'll just play around whatever comes naturally until I come across something that I find interesting myself, until a full song can be developed.
Oh. And talking about that, Tony, you're a molecular biologist.
Yes.
And your musical process has been described as very, very research-driven.
Yeah.
Do you actually approach songwriting like an experiment, combine different elements, observe what happens, or keep that works?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I would just improvise on my instrument and record, so I get immediate feedback on what I was improvising, and I have multiple different ideas. So I don't like this idea, it gets thrown out. Sometimes I'll have a partial idea, but I have it saved, and then I could sit on a hard drive for years before maybe I come back to it years later and it becomes something that develops into a song that we release on another album.
And I'm wondering if sometimes when you're writing, you ever have to tell the scientist in you, just shut up and trust my instincts?
I try to listen to that mostly. But I would say like the scientist in me would be more like experimenting with, like chords that I haven't used before, like harmonic structures, different instruments through the synths that I work with, just trying different soundscapes, using different scales that I haven't used before to try to make a song with it. Like, although I've never done a song in this key, or I've never done a song with this time signature, I'm going to try to force myself to do it.
And Chelsea, Tony's music can be incredibly structured and even sometimes complex. So while you've talked about improvising vocals and letting emotion guide the performance, how do you find your emotional space inside music that's already a little bit dense?
I think really it's just sitting with it for a while. There's like this space that I tap into that I feel like it's between realities where like time doesn't exist. And when I'm in that space, it's the ideas just come to me and they flow out so effortlessly. And I feel very fortunate to be able to tap into that.
Like, by any chance, have you ever completely changed the emotional meaning of a song through what you did vocally?
Yeah, there's been times where I wrote something and Tony's like, wow, I didn't think of it that way at all, but it works. So we're gonna roll with that. So
this is a prog metal question. At what point does complexity stop being progressive and simply become parts of your musical vocabulary?
I'll let you answer that one.
I guess just doing music that kind of has a progressive element is just part of my natural, the way that I compose. I'm not actively trying to do something that would be progressive. It just kind of comes out that way. And, I have a lot of influences and more of like the avant-garde side of metal as well, where just kind of anything goes. So I'll take influences from that as well, but maybe like tone them down and make them more song-oriented than purely experimental.
And something that always keeps coming back into your imagery and music is the ocean. And Bioluminescence took that a little bit much further. What is it about the ocean specifically that keeps giving Dawn of Ouroboros something to write about?
For me, the ocean has always been like part of my coping mechanism toolbox. Like when we are California based, and when we have bad days, we usually end up at the ocean. So it's a big part of our life and how we've brought ourselves to a calm, grounded state is being able to go to the ocean. So I think it all kind of started there. Was I feel like if you sit and watch the ocean, that you can actually emulate intense emotion, and through that it fuels a lot of vocal ideas for me. So I just keep pulling it back in. With Bioluminescence, I actually went out on the waters in the Pacific Northwest of the United States and did bioluminescent kayaking as part of my fun, learning experience for this album. And it was breathtaking, and it really kind of represents our light meeting the darkness, is the bioluminescence in the dark waters. So that's why I chose to go that path with that album.
So how would you identify exactly that? Is it the beauty of it, the darkness underneath it, or that we still don't understand what's going on down there?
I think it's the darkness, and then the fact that there's so much beauty interlaced within it. So I think the vastness of it is darkness, which is kind of how our music is. Most majority of the vocals that I do are the brutal vocal style, but then I'll interlace it with these really floaty, airy vocal styles that bring in the beauty, and we'll write music with the synths that emulate that exact feeling. So it's really the darkness with the beauty interlaced, and I think that is the ocean.
And also, when it comes to Dawn of Ouroboros sound and music, some of the most memorable moment in it seems to come from really unexpected places. Mm-hmm. What's one part of, for example, Bioluminescence that happened almost accidentally but ended becoming essential to the song?
For you, let's get.
Yeah, I mean, I had a song structure that we're all the way in the final recording process, and we scrapped an entire section and changed it completely at the last minute. And I don't think it would be the song that it is now, like have the same level of impact if we stuck with what was there in those sections originally.
And did you recognize it as something like, did you recognize it immediately that you had something special, or only after hearing like the finished track before cutting it down?
We don't really ever know what to expect when we're making new music and putting it out there. Yeah. When we started the band, it was just, hey, we've only played in other people's bands. Let's make our own band.
Yeah.
And just do what we want to do. Let's just have fun. It just kind of has developed into something where, we can be invited to festivals like ProgStorm and, continue to write music that we find enjoyable ourselves.
Tony and I are best friends, and we have been for many years. And we actually met through doing music together in other people's projects. So when the time came, we decided that, since we work so well together and we're best friends, we might as well try to build our own thing. And that's how Dawn of Ouroboros came to be.
So when you listen back to the art of morphology now, do you hear the beginning of the band you are today, or does it sound like a completely different Dawn of Ouroboros?
I think it sounds like a memory, There's a lot of moments of growth and like learning and exploration that needed to happen, and that took place with the art of morphology. Previously I had not done black metal, so it was really a time where I was trying to hone in on the sound for that, interlaced with the progressive metal. So, I mean, it sounds like it means a lot to me still. So.
Yeah, I mean, going back to that first album I had only played in other people's bands, and I was like, look, I'm just gonna write songs that I want to write, and we'll record them. I started to do vocals, had some other friends that we knew invited on to do drums and bass, and just like, these are the songs, it is what it is, let's just see what happens.
If you could send one message back to yourselves while making that first record, what would you tell yourselves?
I mean, probably just there's some things that maybe I overdid it on, like the guitar tracking. I was like tone it down a little bit.
Yeah. And then for me, I think that I felt very much like I had no idea what to expect of Dawn of Ouroboros when we were creating it. And there was definitely times where I was like, I don't know, but I just think if I could tell myself one thing, I'd just be like, just do your art, just forget about everything else, And I was trying to very much just like lean into that at that time, but I don't know if I truly believed it until later.
And you've already pushed the band sound progressively further with each record. What's something Dawn of Ouroboros hasn't done yet that you genuinely want to explore?
I mean, we're really continuing on that with new material we're working on. I do believe that we have pushed it even further, while still keeping the same core sound, and just continuing to push the band in new directions, trying new things, always keeping a vibe of experimentation and also collaboration, and getting everybody in the group more involved in the writing process.
Is there any musical boundaries you've deliberately trying to break right now? Or are you still discovering what the next record where it's gonna take you?
I don't necessarily think trying to break any musical boundaries, but just trying to, challenge ourselves and do something that feels fresh to us and interesting and exciting and fun to play.
For me, I feel like every album I unlock a new skill set vocally, and it's a treasure. I never really know what to get. I'm not going into it with like a specific aim to harness or develop a certain skill. It's just one of those things that just comes about, and I find it incredibly exciting. So with this new album that we've been working on, it's really I just think it's such a great level up from where Bioluminescence was, and I'm really excited to see how it's received.
And after everything you've explored, black metal, death metal, prog, atmospheric, experimental. What is the one thing that makes a piece of music unmistakably Dawn of Ouroboros?
I think the experimentation, not having the genre boundaries put on us, is very important to it being us. And I think that our fan base that we do have really appreciates that we don't try to just color in the lines. So continuing that way, and of course having that jazz noir interlaced is definitely a big part of Dawn of Ouroboros.
This is my last question. So we're gonna talk a little bit about ProgStorm with the lineup like Cyanide, Car Bomb, Exist, Aeternam, and Abstract Illusion.
Mm-hmm.
There are widely different definitions of prog metal in this festival, right? So which band on this lineup challenges your own ideas of what prog is?
For me, that as far as like, challenging my own ideas, I feel that that's a difficult question to answer. But there's definitely a lot of bands that are on this festival that are friends of ours and bands that we admire. I've always been a big mathcore fan, so Carbon was really fun for me to see. And then a band like Cynic is one of my earliest influences as a musician. When I discovered them back in high school, when Focus was the only album they had.
Anything else you want to add to the people watching you?
Thank you so much for all your support, and we're so honored to be in your ears. So please continue to listen, and hopefully we'll be touring near you.